fine. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Fine. It's great, right? So let's start the session. Once we start the session, I will be discussing on this session is all about understanding about Blazor. This session is all about understanding about Blazor. So this session is completely about understanding about Blazor. So we are not deep diving into Blazor. So this session, this workshop is to make you a little bit aware of Blazor so that you can understand its importance and you can deal with Blazor as a beginner. You can start with Blazor, but you need to learn it individually. So in order to explore everything inside this Blazor components. So this is completely for people who have done with their .NET. So if you already are learning .NET, you are aware of C# and ASP.NET. So and you are related to .NET, then this will be suitable for you. So Blazor, this session is not related to anyone who is not aware of any .NET, right? So in this session, we are not discussing any in-depth concept of Blazor. This session is completely about introduction. However, I will show you a small approach practically also, how actually it works. But in order to build effective applications with Blazor, you need to have a complete knowledge on that. We are planning for starting sessions on Blazor, which is most requested in few days. Coming few days, you will be intimated with that, right? So you will be informed about that, right? When it is going to start, so that you can attend the sessions and get a complete idea of Blazor. So in today's session, I'm giving you an overview, what it is, how it works, what it comprises of, and a small approach of practically how we can build Blazor apps, right? That is the today's agenda. And the prerequisite is anyone who knows C# and ASP.NET can attend this, but actually this requires knowledge of .NET Core, no need to worry. So here, whatever I explain in this workshop, that you can even practically implement without complete knowledge of ASP.NET and Core. If you know HTML, CSS, and little bit C#, then you can handle this. But to become expert in this, you need to know so many things, right? So this workshop is all about understanding Blazor, right? So if you have any doubts related to whatever we are discussing, I will take doubts towards the end, right? Towards the end, I will clarify all your doubts. So in between the session, if I ask you any queries, right, if you know, you can answer. But any doubts related to what we are discussing, we will take those doubts and detailedly discuss about them towards the end of this session. Hope everyone is clear with that, right? So let's start the concept here. So what is Blazor and how it actually works? So technically, as a .NET developer, you need to understand a basic point about what is Blazor. Actually, I will share all this presentation and note on a GitHub repository to you so that after the session you can have a reference for that. Okay. Technically, the first important point is what is Blazor? So as a .NET developer, so we need to understand what is actually this Blazor and what is the importance of this. What is the importance of this? So for this, first point is actually you need to understand few key components. So for that, you need to answer some points like, so as a .NET developer, we are using ASP.NET server side, and we are using ADO.NET for database communication, and we are using ADO.NET, we are using .NET and ASP.NET, right? And we are using web API or web services or WCF services. So for distributed computing architecture, right? For distributed computing architecture, for distributed applications, right? So for services we are using. So that means for distributed applications, we are using web API, web services. Now the point is client side, we are using as .NET developers. Client side, we are using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery, like languages and libraries and presentation. We are using client side, we are using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery like things. Now, as a .NET developer, the basic environment for developing web applications. And of course, we are using ASP.NET server side. So with C# as language, because ASP.NET is just a framework. It needs a language. We are using C# as language. As a .NET developer, our basic environment for developing web applications is this. So we are using ASP.NET. We are using server side for ASP.NET server side and language C#, ADO.NET for database communications, and services, web API, WCF, and web services for distributed. And client side, we are using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. Now, do you know why web developers started using Angular? Developers using Angular, Vue.js, or React.js client side? That means why developers started using Angular, Vue, React client side? Can any one of you tell about that? Any one of you can tell about that? So why we are using okay, good. Yeah, great. These are frameworks. That's good. Great. Single page applications. Very good. Great. Right. Yes, yes, great. Right. For developing single page applications, interactive, lightweight. Very good. Great. Great. You have good knowledge about that. Good. Right. So great. Okay. 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 So client side frameworks. That's it. Right. That's good. Right. Okay. Fine. 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 Let's continue. See, great. You have good knowledge about them. So many of you know about them very well. So we are using Angular, Vue, React, like technologies client side. One of the main reason of using them is they are they are client side frameworks. I hope everyone agree with that, right? These are all client side frameworks. So that means they provide a support for your application so that it is not just responsible for building the application. A framework allows you to build and also control the application flow. And these are majorly targeted to build what kind of applications? Single page applications, progressive web applications, web applications. That means Angular, Vue, React, and other technologies, other frameworks are used client side. They are client side frameworks. They provide a good support for building single page applications, progressive web applications. They provide a good support for them, building single page and progressive web applications. So technically, I hope many of you know what is a single page application, because the modern web development is about mostly not traditional web applications. They are about single page and progressive. Single page application means a user stays on only one page and he gets access to everything onto that page. So that means the page gets updated with new details without reloading the complete page. So user stays on only one page and gets access to everything onto that page. We are more forward than single page applications in the current generation. We are now planning and working for progressive web applications. Actually, progressive web application means a web application will have an app-like experience even when you are using in a browser. For example, so an app-like experience even when you are using a browser. So for example, so here you see a website. Suppose I have photopia.com. This photopia.com, you see, this is online Photoshop. It is a website. You can observe it is a web application. And you can see that it doesn't look like you are accessing a page. It doesn't look like you are working with a website with pages. It looks like an app inside browser. You can draw diagram here. You can do all the work that you are doing. That means app-like experience in the browser. you are having an app-like experience in the browser. That is the point. You have an app-like experience in the browser. These type of applications are called progressive web applications. So I want any application like app-like. I want every application like app-like experience. That is what progressive web application is. So now all these technologies which people are using, implementing, Angular and Vue, React, and everything client side. So these are mostly about building single page applications and progressive web applications. Now, actually, they are not just the frameworks. And do you know Angular and Vue and React? They do more than a framework does, because they implement a lot of techniques to make the applications progressive, to make the applications single page. So those are not the points that we are discussing now. Actually, Angular, Vue, React, like technologies or like frameworks we are using client side. Do you know actually Angular, like technologies, Angular, Vue, and these technologies, they are using TypeScript as language, whereas some are using JavaScript as language and some are using TypeScript as language. That means these are all the frameworks which are using either TypeScript or which are using JavaScript as language, TypeScript or JavaScript as language. Can you tell me why these technologies are using new languages, preferring new languages like TypeScript rather than JavaScript? Do you have any idea? These Angular like technologies, like frameworks, they are not preferring for JavaScript. They are preferring for some new languages client side. So why they are preferring those? Right. Great. Good. That means in simple terms, you can say that whatever the issues we are facing with JavaScript, so they are almost resolved by using these new languages. Am I right? That means whatever the issues we are facing with JavaScript, they are resolved by using these languages, TypeScript and all. That's the reason we are not only just looking for new frameworks. We are looking for new languages with those frameworks, which can overcome the issues that we are facing with JavaScript. Because you know the issues with JavaScript, it is not strongly typed. It is not by default strictly typed. So lack of certain features in object-oriented programming, right? So many issues are there with JavaScript. To overcome those issues, we are using new frameworks with new languages in the background. That's what actually web developers are doing these days. That means now web developers are implementing new frameworks, Angular, Vue, React like frameworks client side. Now, as a .NET developer, if you are a .NET developer and you are related to web development, not desktop applications, web development, then you also have to learn the technologies like Angular, Vue, React, mandatory, because you cannot be a .NET developer for the current generation without the knowledge of Angular or Vue or React like technologies, like frameworks. So you cannot just go as a web developer. So with just knowledge of ASP.NET and C#. So you need to have a strong knowledge in UI. So that means HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and you need knowledge of these frameworks like Angular. It's mandatory. What do you say? Companies are asking for them, am I right? That means companies are asking knowledge of Angular, Vue, React from the people who learned .NET, because as a .NET developer, you search for jobs, and in almost every job requirements, they will ask for the knowledge of this, right? Now, the point here is we are using client side. We are using client side, all this. We are using, yes, right. We are using client side. .NET people, so we are using client side. We are using client side, Angular, React, Vue. So which are either JavaScript based or TypeScript based. To overcome the issues of JavaScript, we are using TypeScript. Now we are doing this. From several years, we are doing this now. Now the point is, Microsoft's idea is, do you know, actually, you might have heard that TypeScript is a language used by Google's Angular technology, and TypeScript is a language developed by Microsoft, right? TypeScript is a language developed by Microsoft. Do you know? Many of you know about this. That means many of you know TypeScript is a language developed by Microsoft. Google, Angular like technology. Angular belongs to Google. Yes. Angular belongs to Google. But the language used by Angular belongs to Microsoft. So actually, Google started a language called Atscript. They started a language called Atscript. But Atscript for client side. Google started a language called Atscript. They started a language Atscript actually. So they started a language called Atscript. They started Atscript. But Microsoft saw that, so it is similar to TypeScript, because Microsoft already developed a TypeScript for its language called C#. And these Microsoft people recommended TypeScript to this Google for their technology called Angular. Now, Google has withdrawn developing of Atscript because they saw that TypeScript is ready and it's already having all the features that they were trying with a new language. Then Google thought that, then why can't we directly implement this now instead of wasting time in developing a new language again? So Google started a language called Atscript for their technology called Angular for building single page and progressive web applications. But they saw that Microsoft already have such language called TypeScript. That's the reason now Google implementing this TypeScript as a language. And TypeScript developed by Microsoft. It is by the same person who developed C#. So C# developed, right? C# developed. And do you know who developed C#? Do you know who developed C#? Who introduced C#? .NET developers. Do you know who developed C#? Yeah, good, right? Anders Hazelberg, right. He developed C# and he developed, yes. And he developed C# and he developed, yes. He developed C# and he developed the language TypeScript. TypeScript and the C#, TypeScript and C#, these are the two languages developed by Anders Hazelberg. But he developed C#, right? So of course, if you know C# and you don't know about Anders Hazelberg, then you are very rude. Why? Because how come you know a technology without knowing who built it? Huh? It cannot be like that, right? Yeah. Years and all, we don't need that. That's enough, right? You don't need to go into the brief history. If you have, that's great, good. But this is the basic point. This is the basic point actually. Now here, the point is, here the key concept here is, when Microsoft developed this TypeScript for its C#, so its main intention was to overcome the issues that they are facing with JavaScript and to use it client side, And they were doing that with .NET technology. But now they are providing that to Angular also. Now for Microsoft people, that means this is for other technologies. That means if you are not only .NET, suppose you belong to, suppose you belong to PHP, you belong to JSP, right? You belong to PHP or JSP. You belong to PHP or JSP. That means server side PHP, you have server side JSP, or you have server side like Python, all these. Now you are recommended to use all these, Angular, React, or Vue client side. Now Microsoft recommends the .NET developers that, so instead of using all these client side, you can better use Blazor client side. That means now you don't need Angular, you don't need React, you don't need Vue. Now client side, you can use Blazor. So what is Blazor and what it does, we will discuss about that. But the main intention is now to tell the developers, .NET developers especially, that okay, you are a .NET developer, you are building web applications, then client side you are going with various frameworks like TypeScript, Angular or React or Vue.js. Now Microsoft says that, okay, let's do that by using Blazor. That means better you go with Blazor instead of Angular, instead of React, or instead of Vue. And this will become for almost mandatory for web developers in .NET. in .NET. That means you are a .NET web developer, especially working on .NET technology. Then you are not much worried now about Angular, React, or Vue in future. Now you can just deal with what they deal in general by using Blazor itself. That means what is actually the concept of Blazor? What is the concept of Blazor? Means what is its intention actually? That means now Microsoft recommends .NET developers to use Blazor. So Microsoft recommends .NET developers to use Blazor. Just recommends. It's not that you have to mandatorily do that. But in future, so as a .NET developer, you will show more interest on this because that correctly fits for your type of technologies, right? Whatever you are using. That means actually people who are who have to learn Angular, Vue, React, they need to again learn about the new libraries, again the new components, templates, frameworks, whatever they use, they have to learn newly about them. Now, what is Blazor? Actually, now what is Blazor? So technically, Blazor lets you build interactive web UIs using C# instead of using JavaScript. That's great. Blazor lets you to build interactive web user interfaces using C# instead of JavaScript. That means you don't need to use JavaScript client side. You can directly use C# client side. Actually, Blazor apps are composed of reusable web UI components which are implemented using C#. What are those? I will explain. Which are implemented using C#, HTML, and CSS. That means this is what actually the intention of Blazor. The intention of Blazor, right? Intention of Blazor. Are you sure you can do the same with the WPF? Mr. Srinath, you say that WPF is for web development. Are you sure? Or without knowing WPF, you just put a statement that it is same? Mr. Srinath, do you know the meaning of WPF? I hope you don't know. That's the reason you may think like, is it web? Is it web related? Okay, let's leave it. Later we will discuss in the doubt session because I think you are not clear about WPF at all. All right. You should talk about Silverlight, not WPF. You know, right? You have to talk about Silverlight, right? I hope you are not aware of that. It's fine, no problem. So you will know about it, right? You cannot simply say that it is done. You should not give a statement. I think you should simply ask a question. Is it same like WPF, right? You cannot simply throw a statement that it is same like WPF as if that you are finally concluding that it is like WPF, right? No. So here, the main intention of using Blazor is to build interactive web UI using just C# and HTML, CSS. That's great for .NET developers, right? That means for .NET developers, we need to again train them on JavaScript and jQuery and introduction to Angular, AngularJS, React.js, Vue.js. Oh, so much is there for .NET people to deal with in the web technologies, right? Now simply Blazor, that's enough, right? That's great. That means Blazor supports everything that you need for single page and progressive web applications. Blazor apps are composed of reusable web UI components implemented using C#, HTML, and CSS. I will tell you how they are actually. What do you mean by components? What do you mean by components and how they are handled? So we will see that point actually. Actually, suppose you have an application. Now, usually, so we have components. That means we have components. The components like, so we have components, for example, these are reusable components. For example, I have a login component. This login component have a presentation. That means usually this presentation is done with HTML. Effects are given with CSS. And the logic is now written with C#. That means now I have a component, login component. I have a login component, which is designed by using HTML, CSS, and C#. Earlier, in component-based frameworks like Angular and all, we have to use TypeScript. Remember, we are talking about client side. We have to use TypeScript or JavaScript. So instead of TypeScript or JavaScript, now we are using C#. And very important, as I told you, that Blazor apps are composed of such components and reusable web UI components implemented by using C#. The logic is written with C#. And we can reuse these components in our application. Not only in this application, you want a login and you can implement that component here. In another application, I want that login. I can implement here also. That means it allows you to create reusable components which you can share across applications also. So that means it even allows to share both client side and server side. What is client side, server side? I will explain those points. We will discuss about that, right? That means generally, now we are asking our .NET developers. To implement this Blazor, which is with combination of HTML and CSS and C# client side instead of using JavaScript or jQuery. instead of using JavaScript, right? And one of the great abilities, so is it can use, Blazor can use all the libraries. It can use all the libraries of your JavaScript. That's great. It can use all the libraries of your JavaScript, right? So we will discuss what actually it provides. It provides, what are the facilities it provides. We will discuss about that. We will detailedly discuss about that. But technically, I hope up to this part, many people clearly understood about what is Blazor going to do for a .NET developer. That means now you will not be engaged more in learning about Angular or React or Vue. Like, you can simply learn about Blazor that lets you to build an interactive web UI using just your C#, right? So what is Blazor, what Blazor contains, so how it works, we will see, we will discuss about that. Actually, one of the point you need to understand is Blazor is provided as a feature of ASP.NET, feature of ASP.NET. So which is a popular web development framework that extends the .NET developers platform. So which are used, which are means you can simply say that developers platform with tools and libraries for building, libraries for building web applications, So that is important. So, and very important, Blazor's ability is Blazor uses open web standards without plugins or code transpilation. Transcompilation, you can simply say that. Transcompilation. That means, do you know actually TypeScript, like languages, they transcompile everything into JavaScript again. So Blazor uses open web standards without any plugins. The code can be easily made understandable to the browsers. That means Blazor works on all modern browsers, including mobile browsers also. Blazor works on model browsers. That means including the mobile browsers also. Right? And generally, anybody who knows about web development, he knows about plugins. I hope you know that. Plugins. That means a plugin is a small software solution used in the browsers to handle any specific functionality, specific types of files. For example, you want to watch a PDF document in a browser. How a browser can open a PDF document and show to you? For that, I think you know that you need a PDF plugin. If you want to watch videos on your browser, so through online, then you need a browser plugin called Flash Player. I hope many of you know that, right? That is the point. That means Blazor uses the open web standards, and without using much plugins, they are directly understandable to browsers, directly understandable to modern browsers also, including mobile browsers. That is what actually the ability. That is what actually the ability. So the point here is you don't need to buy much, because if you are using other technologies, you need to buy. So the third party solutions, and you need to buy so many things. Cost cutting, it can handle the cost cutting, because do you know actually Blazor UI component ecosystem so is more productive so and fast with reusable components, reusable UI components. So components, so which are supported by vendors like Telerik, like Dev Express, like Sync Fusion, like Radzen, like Grape City, etc. Do you know actually Blazor UI related components are more productive, fast, reusable, and more effective, because these all components are supported. Blazor related UI components are supported by one of the great third parties like Telerik, Dev Express, Sync Fusion, Radzen. These are all people are now providing components for Blazor. That's great for .NET developer to hear about this. Why? Because if you are a .NET developer, you know Telerik, you know Dev Express. These are the people who support Microsoft in providing so many components, so to make the technology more better. And I think if you don't know about Telerik, I think you know about Telerik. So if you don't know about Telerik, you can see this is Telerik. So I will show you. This is Telerik. This is Telerik. This is Telerik. This is Telerik. And important is, I think many of you know, right? Many of you know here, see this is Telerik. They provide UI components. And see these people are supporting Blazor now. And you see the customers of Telerik. You can see the customers of Telerik. See who is the customer of Telerik. NASA is the customer of Telerik. NASA is customer of Telerik. Microsoft is customer of Telerik. Microsoft is customer of Telerik, right? That means you can imagine the abilities. They are providing software component support for NASA like people, right? That's great. And now they are providing even support for your Blazor. That means you can achieve anything what you need for the current world. From artificial intelligence, IoT, distributed, to advanced progressive web applications, whatever you need, that is provided by Blazor now. It can be handled by Blazor because you have a support from the great vendors in the world like this Telerik, Radzen, and all these, right? That means you have a good support of community here. So this is all important things you need to know. And another important part is Blazor. Blazor is free and open source. It is free and open source. That means actually Blazor is a part of open source .NET platform. You know, .NET has free open source platform, .NET Core, right? It is now free. Blazor is free. And it has a strong community support. That means it's free. So for license, right? So including commercial use also, it is free. Including commercial use also, it is free. That's great. That means not only just for the personal, it is even for commercial use also, it is free. It is free. That is something good, something important, right? So this is the basic point about what exactly Blazor is. I think which many of you at now understood about that. Now we will go into the concept of understanding actually how this Blazor works. Because as this is just a workshop on Blazor, I will highlight the important points and give you an overview of what it is actually. Right? Because there are so many things to discuss about every point that we raise here. So that is not possible in a workshop. That is possible only in a regular session, which we will plan to start for Blazor, a regular session. So that there everything can be discussed detailedly, right? Initially, this is what you need to understand primarily about what exactly Blazor, right? So now let's go into the concept and understand about it. I hope many of the points are clear. What are those points I told you? So Blazor is good for building client-side web UI with .NET instead of using JavaScript. I mean, .NET means utilizing all the library of .NET with the language C#. You can use all your .NET library, utilize your .NET library and build a very effective interactive client-side application, web user interface. And we can write reusable UI components with C# and Razor. If you are not aware of Razor, so I will give you a point about Razor. We will discuss about that, right? And we can share .NET code both client side and server side. We can even call into JavaScript libraries and browser APIs whenever required. That means C# Blazor can utilize all the JavaScript libraries which are provided by the browser. So, and as well as the browser APIs that we need as per the requirements. That's great. That's good. That means, so even you are using C# and Blazor client side, you can utilize all the JavaScript libraries. That means everything that you are doing in JavaScript, now you can do with C# and Blazor. That's great. That is the point here. That is the point. So these are all important features, right? Now, what you have to know technically is actually Blazor applications can operate on two different models. Blazor applications can operate on two different models. They can operate on two different models. So Blazor applications can operate on two different models. That is the first point you need to understand. Actually, when you are trying to understand about Blazor, you need to know that Blazor applications have two models. Blazor application have two models. So one, we have a Blazor server. 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 And second, we have Blazor Webassembly. Blazor Webassembly. Assembly. So that means Blazor have two models. We have a Blazor server model and a Blazor Webassembly model. Two models are there. Actually, Blazor Webassembly model is made available, is now ready just 4 days back. So 4 days back, 4 days back, they have released this finally. That means now it is available. Earlier, it was just a preview release. Now, finally, we got this. Actually, people who were working on Blazor were waiting for this, That means people who already know Blazor and working on Blazor were waiting for this Blazor WebAssembly. And just 4 days back, so that WebAssembly is finally released for us. And finally released for us with complete production support. You can even use for production also, use for production server, production support also. That means now Blazor has two operating models actually. Blazor applications can operate in two different modes. One is server, another one WebAssembly. So what is Blazor server? What is Blazor server and what is Blazor WebAssembly? You have to know about it. Actually, Blazor server, generally what you should know about this Blazor server is Blazor server applications run the components on the server on the ASP.NET Core. That means Blazor has two operating models. You have a client-side operating model, server-side operating model. So all these days till now, we have a server-side operating model. Client-side operating model very recently introduced for production ready now. Actually, first mode is the server-side model, Blazor server. The Blazor server is nothing but Blazor server apps run the components on the server. That means we have a server. This is server. That means they run the components on server. And server usually comprises of .NET. And .NET is actually that is .NET Core. That means now Blazor works with .NET Core. It is made as a part of .NET Core. If you are not aware of .NET Core, so what is .NET Core and how it works, these all you will understand. So in a later stage when you learn about .NET Core like concepts. If you are not, then we will conduct a workshop on that to make you understand about actually what is .NET Core, because now we started even delivering and learning and working on .NET Core as a .NET developers. Obviously, you must have knowledge of what is actually .NET Core, right? Yeah. So now important is you should know that Blazor is now supported with .NET Core 3.1 and higher, because .NET Core 3.1 is provided as long-term support. 3.0 and other versions, 3.0 is dead, now gone. That means now Blazor is recommended to use on .NET Core 3.1 and higher versions. 3.1 is the latest stable release actually. So 3.0 is dead. Microsoft has withdrawn long-term support of 3.0 also, if you don't know, right? So if it has withdrawn the support for 3.0, then you can understand what to use, right? Actually. So let's go the point. So Blazor server apps run the components on the server on the top of .NET Core. That means actually Blazor server apps then can set a real-time connection with browser. Typically over a WebSocket using SignalR. What is that? I will tell you. What is that? We will discuss about that, right? So we will discuss about that. That means what is that? We will discuss, right? Right. The point here is whenever what you are working with Blazor, what you should know about here is about what is this SignalR. SignalR. If you people are aware of SignalR, that's great. Otherwise, I will just give you a point about SignalR actually. What is actually the SignalR concept is. Let me explain this point. That means how it happens. So generally, Blazor server applications run the components on server on the top of .NET Core. And Blazor server applications then set up a real-time connection with the browser, typically over a WebSocket using SignalR. What is this SignalR? Actually, what is the concept of SignalR? So I will just give a point about that because that is important to understand about Blazor, right? Let's go into this point. Actually, as a .NET developer, I think many of you heard about SignalR or not. If not, I will tell you. The point is, actually, we have server. And this server comprises of a server application with collection of components, several components, server side components. Now, actually, we generally use a hub mechanism. So it is actually done by using WebSockets or HTML long pooling. So long pooling mechanism actually. WebSockets or HTML long pooling. Usually what happens is the clients, so which are using across, these clients are connected to this hub. Actually, this is SignalR hub, right? SignalR hub. SignalR is a framework. If you don't know, you should know a basic point about that, which uses WebSockets and HTML long pooling. I will tell you a simple point about a concept about what is actually SignalR is general. For example, so this client sent a message. To, so this is client 1, client 2, and client 3. 3 clients are there. This client sends a message to client 2. He's chatting. He sent a message to client 2. Then what happens is the message is first sent to the hub, and hub is having a communication with the server, and it keeps the message on the server because client 2 is not yet online. He's not available. And when client 2 is online, that means he's available. Then immediately this hub, actually what it does is it will push the message to the client 2. That means it will not wait for client to refresh and pull that information. That means hub will push the updates to the client. It will not wait until you manually approach and ask for the new messages. It will simply push. For example, you are currently offline. You are using WhatsApp. You are currently offline. Some of your friend sent a message to you on WhatsApp. And you are not online. Then what happens? It is on the server. Whenever you are online, you don't need to refresh your WhatsApp. Automatically, the offline messages are pushed to you. I hope everyone is aware of this point, right? That means who is doing this? That means it is not waiting for you to ask for the new details. It is simply pushing the new details to you. This is actually handled by using WebSockets and HTML long pooling, which is used by SignalR, So in Blazor, the SignalR framework plays the key role, which is responsible for handling the interaction between the browser and the server-side application. Actually, it is going to establish connection between server-side component and the browser. The server-side component and the browser. SignalR, that means Blazor server-side applications sets up a real-time connection with the browser by using SignalR mechanism, by using WebSocket using SignalR. So it's a very big concept of SignalR. Generally, people aware of this SignalR in various occasions, especially .NET people. Actually, SignalR framework works like this. That means we have clients. Client sends a message which is managed by SignalR hub and the servers. So that means through WebSockets establish a connection and sends the message out, push the messages, updates, alerts, and everything. This is what actually Blazor is using to establish connection between the server and client, so that any event fired on browser, it will be sent to the server, and server will process it, and immediately it will push the updated information to the browser. That means Blazor, in Blazor, SignalR establishes the connection between server-side components and browser. In the UI, whenever the event occurs, browser sends that event to the server, and server will handle that event by using the components, which will render back the output to you. That means Blazor then keeps track of changes that are made in the UI by using a sophisticated diffing algorithm actually, right? And any changes are sent back to the browser and applied to the live DOM, document object model. That means what happens here in this architecture actually. That means I will give you a simple point now. The point is we have Blazor server-side components. Blazor server-side components. We have Blazor server-side components. We have Blazor server-side components. And important is we have browser. And the communication between these two is managed. Between the browser and the server is managed by hub, by using hub. So SignalR. That means now what happens is in the UI, some events happen. That means click of a button happen. So in the UI, some event happens. Then what will happen now? This is notified by using SignalR hub mechanism, right? By using SignalR hub, it will be notified to server. Server components will be processed. Server components will handle your request. So whatever the events come, the Blazor keeps tracking of the changes made in the UI. And what happens? It will process. It will compile, it will execute. Then whatever output is there, that is sent back to the browser, and it is applied to the DOM, DOM, document object model. That means now before this, it is a static DOM. static DOM. And now it is a dynamic DOM, dynamic DOM, dynamic DOM. That means the static to dynamic DOM. Actually, that is what JavaScript jQuery does. That means Blazor server app can use a very thin client, which can even work for very low power devices and old version browsers also. Blazor server application can simplify your application architecture by eliminating the need of additional APIs or HTTP endpoints that you have to use as a web developer generally. All your code stays on server. As you write more code, the size of application will not grow. That is great, that is good. All the code that you write will stay on server. When you are improving, when you are extending the code, everything is processed and finally it is sent to the client. That means the client side application will not grow. The client side application will not grow in size. It will be same. It will be same. Another important point is it uses a modular approach. It uses a modular approach. Modular approach means only the component that is necessary for that particular situation is loaded to you. It will reduce the burden on browser. It will improve the performance of application client side. These are all the points. Of client side. Actually, SignalR is the key framework which is used. This is actually SignalR framework. It's a very big concept. SignalR is a very big concept. This is an internal architecture of a basic overview architecture of SignalR. We have server-side .NET application. We have hub APIs, persistent connection APIs. Transportation happens by using WebSockets and AJAX HTML long pooling. It transports and makes it understandable to any application. Actually, this is the internal architecture of SignalR. Internal architecture of SignalR. So the point here why we have to discuss about SignalR. So the main concept about discussing about SignalR is because it handles the live communication between the server-side components and the browser. Entire communication between the browser and server-side interactions is managed by this SignalR in Blazor. You can see SignalR like chatting applications, collaborative applications, multi-user whiteboards, project management tools, online gaming, automatic updating of applications like dashboards and real-time maps, notifications and alerts. All such things are done through SignalR only. All such things are done through SignalR only, right? So yes, you don't need to explicitly implement more AJAX calls. Explicitly, you don't need to implement more AJAX. Internally, implicitly, it uses AJAX. That's the important feature for this. So this is what actually the clients. So that means this is a Blazor server. Actually, this is Blazor server. We have a Blazor client. We have Blazor client. Blazor client is actually a Blazor WebAssembly. What is this Blazor WebAssembly? Actually, Blazor WebAssembly applications run your components directly on browser using a WebAssembly based on .NET runtime. That is new to here. That means we are saying that Blazor has two models. One is Blazor server model, another one WebAssembly model. I hope everyone understood the difference. Server model means all your components run on server, only the output is sent to the browser. But Blazor WebAssembly is everything runs on browser. That means on the browser, .NET components are compiled, processed. On the browser, it will happen. That means Blazor WebAssembly is completely to run your components directly in the browser using a .NET runtime. That's great. That's good. And in Blazor WebAssembly apps, your components are downloaded as normal .assemblies along with the runtime into the browser. That means whatever library is needed for your application, they are downloaded into the browser. This makes the application to respond faster and more simplified, because it can even provide you a service offline. For example, you can see the applications like you are using Facebook or Gmail, or you are using YouTube or Amazon Prime, you see, or Netflix, you see there is an option. You can download the videos, but you can watch those videos up to certain days only. You can download offline also. It is providing you some facilities that is possible if it can download the assembly to the browser until you're clean the cache or everything. That there are so many points, just one basic point I explained. So in Blazor WebAssembly apps, your components are downloaded as normal runtime into the browser and executed directly in the browser. That is good. In contrast, previously Blazor server apps, they run the components on server. Only the output is generated to the browser, right? Blazor WebAssembly apps doesn't require server components. So that they can be deployed as purely static sites. It supports complete offline scenario, just like I explained now. So that is great. That means now Blazor is available in two ways. You can use Blazor client side, you can use Blazor server side, right? So that means it has both combination. That means you can make applications in such a way that components will run on server. Actually, Blazor client is not yet ready for until May. Just 4 or 5 days back, it's finally released. That is now it is available for production. Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly is ready for the production. I hope you understood the difference, right? In Blazor server, the applications will run on server. Components will run on server. In Blazor client, they will run on client. So this is actually the point about Blazor. And how it is going to work, I will show you a practical approach now. How it is going to work, how it is going to be used. I will show you a simple overview of a Blazor application. I will give a simple overview of Blazor application, right? Let's see that. One simple overview of Blazor application. So that is, I hope everyone understood about this point. So that means now we have two models. We have two models in Blazor. So Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly. In Blazor server, everything, all the components, Razor components and .NET libraries, WebAssembly, everything runs on server. And Blazor WebAssembly, everything works on in the browser. Directly it compiles in the browser. That is important. We have two options, Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly, right? That is the basic thing you need to understand. Okay. Now, once you know this, and how do we work with this? Let's see. Means a simple practical approach of working with Blazor, because see, lot of things are there. Because as it is a workshop, I can just give you an overview point about every concept. So when you learn it detail, you have to explore every concept on inside it, right? Initially, let's see how we can work with Blazor. For that, in order to work with Blazor, actually you have to set up environment for Blazor. So for that, what we have to do is you have to install .NET Core. You have to install .NET Core. You need a Visual Studio. 219 and higher versions, 219 and higher versions. Of course, you can use Visual Studio Code like tools also by enabling C#. You can use for Mac or Windows because Visual Studio is now open source and available for every platform, right? So free. So you have to install .NET Core and you have to install Visual Studio 19 so that you can get from the official website. So official website of .NET, you can get it from that. So Blazor.net. Blazor.net, this is the official. I will give you the path here. This is the official. Or simply you go with HTTP. Yes, Blazor.net. So here, once you are into this, what you have to do is you go and you have to download. So you have to download. And when you click on this download, usually you will be asked to download. .NET Core. You know that .NET Core is 3.1 is now the stable and the long-term support, and Blazor you can use on 3.1. And .NET framework is not open source, it is only for Windows. So this is cross-platform open source .NET Core. You need to download .NET Core. So once you download .NET Core, then you have to install .NET Core for your Visual Studio, right? First you install Visual Studio 219 and you install .NET Core 3.1 because sometimes if you are not updated, Visual Studio 219 comes with the .NET Core older version, 3.0 and other versions, which are not having long-term support now. So you have to better download .NET Core 3.1. That means actually it will take you to this location. So you have to download .NET Core, install .NET Core 3.1. So this is where, so you have to download .NET Core 3.1, right? So Visual Studio 219. You can get it from this URL also. You can go directly to that location. You can get it from this URL also. Both are same, right? Yeah. Now, once you have Visual Studio 219, so you see I have Visual Studio 219. This is Visual Studio 219. We are taking a look over how to build a Blazor application, how it looks like. A basic overview I will give you, right? So this is Visual Studio 219. And important is when you are developing a Blazor application, actually, if you install .NET Core, so you can test .NET Core from, you can test .NET Core from, so you have to test .NET Core from command prompt. So in the command prompt, you can simply type .NET. So you open your command prompt, and in the command prompt .NET, it will show you the version of .NET. It will show you the commands of .NET, and you can see these are all .NET. That means this is working fine. So this is actually CLI. This is the CLI for .NET Core. So you know that .NET Core provides a command line interface, right? Yeah. Now what you have to do is, in order to use Blazor for your computer in your Visual Studio, by default, Blazor WebAssembly is not available and Blazor templates are not updated. So what you have to do is, you have to run the following command. So what you have to do is open your command prompt, or you can do that from your package manager tool also. So you have to just open command prompt and .NET. You have to type .NET new -- install Microsoft.ASP.NET Core dot Blazor dot templates and double colon, you have to use 3.2.0 hyphen preview 1 dot 20073 and dot 1. This is for I told you Webassembly is recently added, right? So you can get that Webassembly also installed in your computer. So by running this command, you have to run the command. So once you run the command, once you run this command, that means now it will install the Blazor templates which are available till now. Whatever the Blazor templates are available, it will install for you, right? So that is ready. That means you have to download .NET Core and you need to have Visual Studio 2.19 and you need to test whether .NET Core is working fine. Then you have to install the Blazor templates for your .NET, right? By default, Blazor server-side template is available, but client-side template is not available. WebAssembly is not available, which you need to download it. By using this command, so you have to use ASP.NET Blazor templates. So it will install both templates. One is a server-side template. So another one is client-side template, that is WebAssembly, right? Yeah. Once you do this, once it is installed, so successfully from the command prompt, you have to run that command. Once it is done, so you open your Visual Studio and let's see how to create a Blazor project. That means we will see how do we create a new Blazor project. How do we create a new Blazor project, right? We will see how do we create a new Blazor project, right? So package manager is only for libraries, right? Not for templates. I hope you know that. So from package manager console, you can do it, right? Package manager console, right? Using package manager console, you can do that, right? So you have a package manager console in your tools, na, Visual Studio. From there, you can do it, no problem. But .NET Core provides a CLI tool. From directly CLI command line, you can run it, right? Right, same command you have to run. So from command prompt or from package manager, anywhere, you have to run the same, right? Fine. Now, I think you know, if you know .NET Core, even you can create a project also directly from command prompt, right? You can directly create a project from command prompt, no problem. Okay, now how we can create a new Blazor project? Let's see. So first point is open Visual Studio 2.19, select create project. Okay, in the create project, when you select create project, you can see in the right side project templates, you will find a purple flame, that is Blazor app. You can see this is Blazor app. So this is Blazor app. You have to select this Blazor app. You need to select this Blazor app. So directly in your templates, you will find this Blazor app. Select the Blazor app. Okay, next step. So any name for your Blazor app. I will give the name as a Blazor demo. So Blazor demo. So that is the name given for the Blazor app. Okay, fine. Blazor demo is the name for the project. Okay, let's create the project. Now it will ask you for template, what template you want. You can see, as I already told you, two templates are there. Blazor server app template and Blazor WebAssembly app template. Because Blazor WebAssembly is very recent, and once you start learning about Blazor individually, you will have a complete idea of this, the Blazor WebAssemblies and all, how to handle them, right? Now, Blazor server application, which one you have to choose? So this is very recent. So and it is ready for production also. So we will choose Blazor server application. Between these two, what you understood, can anyone tell? What is difference between server app and WebAssembly app? What is difference between web server app and WebAssembly app? Till now, what you understood about that? Can anyone tell about that? What you understood about this? Blazor server app run all the components server side. Will run all the components server side, and WebAssembly will download and run all the components client side. That means it is like whether you want the components to run server side or whether you want to run the components client side. Right. So in simple terms, to tell clearly about it, you can simply say that the components are executed, compiled and processed server side in Blazor server app, and the components are downloaded, compiled and processed in the browser directly client side, right? So that's what actually server app and WebAssembly app. So both are for creating UI only, but important is components where they have to run. That is decided here, right? That is decided here. Okay, I will select Blazor server app and click on create. Click on create. So it is creating a Blazor server application. Okay. So how to create a project? First, open Visual Studio 219 and then create a new project. And here you have to select Blazor template, and in that you have to specify name Blazor demo. Okay, then choose Blazor server app, then choose the Blazor server. You need to choose the Blazor server app. Yes, Blazor server uses SignalR, right? It uses SignalR. Blazor servers uses SignalR to update to the client, right? Update to the client. And Blazor WebAssembly uses HTTP long polling. Those are technically important, right? So Blazor server app uses SignalR and Blazor WebAssembly uses HTML long polling. Right? So now we choose Blazor server app and the application is created. This is your Blazor project. Once, let's see the important components in our Blazor project, right? You can see the solution explorer here. So we will try to understand that the solution explorer. Yes, using WebSockets. I already told you, right? WebSockets, HTML, long polling, right? Yeah. Now here the point, the project is ready. This is the Blazor project. I will just give you an basic overview. Actually, what happens here is earlier in your .NET, you have used ASPX engine, right? And you have used ASPX components, and you know your ASPX code, right? So this is your server side code, and you know that now we are not using any ASPX engine. Even for ASP.NET web forms also, we are using Razor. Razor engine. That means we are using Razor components. That means earlier your server side pages will have .aspx, and we use Razor code. The Razor code will be in this way. And important is our pages will have extension Razor pages will have extension .cshtml, and Razor components will have extension .razor. So now .NET is no longer using ASPX. ASPX gone. That means almost dead for .NET people. So now even you are using web forms, you have to use Razor only. That means .NET Core is completely about Razor engine. Now, can anyone tell what is difference between Razor engine and ASPX engine? Any idea? Any one point can you tell difference between ASPX and Razor? As a .NET developer, no, actually, yes, you are coming with answers. Okay, good. Okay. ASPX only, no? Inline coding of server with client. Okay, good, right? Okay. Let it keep it very simple actually. Very simple actually. Razor is not a language. Not a language. It is a markup. It is a markup over HTML. It is more fluid. Actually, you will learn this when you learn about Razor in concepts like ASP.NET MVC and all. So Razor is not a language, it is a markup over HTML. And Razor is more fluid. So easy to extend the logic. And it is more lightweight. And very important is Razor can utilize all your C# features. So it can use all C# features. It can use all your C# related features. And it is more fluid than your ASPX. It is more lightweight than your ASPX. It is easy to extend, right? And very important is it is not a language, it is a markup over HTML. That means it can easy to bind with HTML, Earlier, in order to bind with HTML, we need a lot of implementation. It is easy to bind with HTML. So that's the reason .NET developers are now migrating to this Razor. And Blazor completely depends on this Razor. And here all the components are Razor components only. Here there are so many techniques. Like actually, what is a component? I told you already. Component means a component is a combination. A component is a combination of a combination. Right. So it will take few more minutes till the project is completed. This I will show you a small application. With that we can conclude. Right. Okay. Right. It will take at least half an hour, less than half an hour to finish this concept. That means I will take more half an hour to finish this concept because I will just show you a small application so that you can understand how it works. Then you can even try also that, right? So technically, what is a component comprising of? Component contains HTML, CSS, and C# with Razor. C# with Razor. It comprises of this. C# with Razor. A component comprises of this, right? Component comprises of this. So HTML, CSS, and C# with Razor. That's what actually a component comprises of. And usually the Razor components. So you can maintain same like your ASPX. You can have inline or code behind also. Inline or code behind. That means you can maintain all the logic and presentation in one page, or you can cleanly separate the logic and presentation. That depends on your requirement. Those you will detailedly learn once you start learning about Blazor detailedly, but here I will just show you. So this is the project. This is the project. And you can see in the project, actually this project environment is very much easy to understand for everyone who knows about .NET Core or who knows about MVC, because this is .NET Core application. This is a .NET Core application using Blazor. You can go to the project properties. You can see I open the project related details. You see it is targeting, so .NET Core application 3.1. It is running on .NET Core application 3.1 actually. So here you can observe, I will give you an overview here. You can observe here. So this is a Blazor application, and in this www root comprises of all repositories that you need for your application, like CSS files, like images, all other dynamic, non-dynamic files, so that you need for your project. You can keep them here. www root comprises of all of them. By default, you can see Bootstrap, so icons and all these are installed and available here. By default, it is using them. Any non-dynamic, dynamic things you can keep here, scripts and others, you can keep it here. So this is the location where you have to keep these files. Okay. Data is the location where we keep information that is related to services. Here we keep the services that are used to consume the data coming from an API or WCF, so that we can use that in our application. All your user interface is present in pages. Data contains all the logic for consuming services, interacting with services like Web API services or WCF services, web services. Pages contains the UI. All the UI is present in the pages. You can see in the pages, you have host.html, CSHTML. CSHTML, that means this is the page. This is the page. Actually, our application starts with a page called host.cshtml. It starts with the page CSHTML. And counter, error, fetch data, index, these are all having .razor. Razor is a component. That means all the components are accessed and used in a page. And our startup page is host underscore host.cshtml, means our application starts with this page. Our application starts with this page. And in that page, you can access and use all these components. You will be wondering about what is page, what is component. Already I told you, our application is completely built with components. Our application is completely built with components. That means you have components. Our application is built with components. We have component. This is component. This is component. We have components. Our application is built with components, like we have a login component, like we have a register component, like we have a search component, all are designed as components. Component contains its own HTML, its own CSS, and its own C#. Every component is designed with HTML, CSS, and C#. Every component is designed. That means every component is like you can simply say that it is like a user control. You know, user controls in ASP.NET. It's like user control. And you will have a CSHTML page. This is the page. It resembles a single page application environment. That means this is your startup page. Host is the startup page. And in this, we give a navigation here. Navigation like login. We give a navigation like register. It uses client-side routing. Like search. Now what happens is when I click login, this login component comes here and it will display here. When I click register, then register component comes here and it will display here. That means user will stay on one page and everything comes onto that page, comes onto this page. This is what resembles a single page application environment. Single page application environment. That means your Angular, Angular and other technologies also use the same kind of approach, component based. And Blazor is also same like that, component based. All the components are designed and those components are accessed and used in this page. So your Blazor application starts with a page called host.cshtml. From where it starts, how it starts, what is the page architectures, these are all not to be discussed here in this session, right? I will just give an overview of how this actually works. This is host.cshtml. You can see host.cshtml. This is host.cshtml. And this is the page. This is the page. So that starts with entire design is present in this page. Your application starts with the page. And in the application, by default, one component is there. App indicates that which component to display. App indicates which component to display. Which component to display. By default, it is accessing an app component. Actually, app component refers to index. Index is the app component. Actually, it refers to the index. It refers to the index. It refers to the index. So you don't need to worry about that because I will practically add one component and show you how it actually handles. So one point you need to be clear, like our application starts with host.cshtml. Our application starts with host.cshtml. So here, so many other files are present. So many other files are present that usually you will able to understand and learn about them once you started learning this, right? Actually, contains the components and the UI that you have to start with. Shared is a special folder. Shared is a special folder. And in the shared folder, you will contain the components which can be accessed across multiple components, across multiple pages, Usually, layout means master page. Usually, toolbars, navigation bars, all such things which we need to be accessed across all locations are kept in shared, right? So shared contains components which are accessed across various other pages. And we have imports razor, we have app razor. Actually, imports razor is nothing but it will import all the libraries that you need for your application. Once you import the libraries here, you can directly use in any page. Actually, in general ASPX pages, you have to import library in every page. Now, once you import the library here, it is accessible across every component, And app component is the startup component. Actually, it is starting with your component. So these are all not the points I will explain here. Just what we will do is we will understand only one point. What is that point? First point is our application, Blazor application starts with, because Blazor application requires routing, configurations, and everything which are defined in startup.cs. In the startup.cs, all the middleware configuration happens. And here you can see services are added for server-side Blazor. And you can see that it is using Blazor endpoint. So it is using a Blazor hub. And you can see it is starting with host. That means our application is starting with host. These all things you will able to understand once you start learning about it detailedly, right? Initially, you need to understand one basic point. Our Blazor application starts with which page? It will start with _host.cshtml. In this page, which component will be in the startup? Index will be in the startup. How you will say index is in the startup? You can double click and you can see index is page. It is defined with the route slash. Slash route indicates that by default, this is what the startup component is. That means slash indicates that this is the startup component. That means your application starts with this, There cannot be multiple components with the same representation because it can start with only one component at a time. There can be only one component in the startup, and the startup component is defined with the slash. So host starting with a component. Which component? Slash, right? Now how to add the components, I will tell you. We will see that, right? So I will tell you how to handle the components and how do we work with the components. Let's see the concept here, the point here. First point, let's run the page and see. Run our Blazor application and see. No need to worry about much here. You need to just understand a simple point. What is it? So your Blazor project starts with which one? Pages. In pages underscore host.cshtml. Okay, I hope this point is clear. So your Blazor project starts with host underscore cshtml. Okay, next point. The startup component in host page, in host.cshtml, host.cshtml is the startup component in host.cshtml is index.razor. It is the startup component. How you will tell that it is startup component? So you can tell that it is startup component by adding this page slash in the page. Other components, observe. Actually, we have other components also. We have a component called counter. Open this counter component. You can see that counter component is having slash counter. That means it will be invoked only in the route if you type slash and counter, means in the URL, if the request is this. So index is having directly slash. This indicates that it will start with it. Okay, let's start the project and see. So what you understood here, your project starts with host and the startup component is this page. How do we start the project now? That means this is about the startup in Blazor, right? Okay, now after understanding this, now start this. How do we start? So Control plus F5, so it will debug and run to start your project. To start Blazor app. To start the Blazor app, Control F5. Let's go to this Control F5 and you can see that it is starting with the Blazor app. So it will debug, it will compile, it will run, and it will start with the Blazor app. Let's see the output, how it looks like. Now you can see it is starting with, and what is the initial page that starts with? The initial page that starts with is underscore host.cshtml. It starts with that page, and this is how a Blazor app looks like. And left side, a navigation bar is there, and right side, your components are displayed. Remember, when I click on counter, then counter component comes onto this page. When I click on fetch data component comes onto this page. And once important you need to observe is here, without reloading the page, the new components will come onto your page. You see, I click on home comes here without reloading. So counter, it will get that without reloading. Fetch data, it will get that without reloading. In the URL, you can request the component like counter and hit enter. That counter component will come. From URL, if you are requesting, that means it has to reload the request, right? But when you are switching between the components, you can see that page will not refresh. It can directly access. And now see home. When I click on home, it is starting with how that route is defined, how the navigation is defined. This is all big concept. Here we don't go into that. We will just see. Now I want to keep my own component in the startup. Let's see a basic example. How we can add a component. So adding a new component into project. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's keep the component in a better way directly, right? In a better way directly so that you can easily understand. So what I am doing now. So how do we add a component? In the component, I want to show something also, right? How do we add a component? First point is you have to right click on pages, add new item, and you have to select razor component. Let's go into the project, right click on pages and add a new component, add a new item. In the new item, you can find razor component. You can see there is a razor component. And here I am adding a name for this razor component. The name is products. Products is the name, right? Products index is the name. That is the component I'm adding, or I will simply say that products catalog is the component name, products catalog. I will say add. Then usually component will have the extension .razor and a component is added. In this component, I will clean up everything. I will just put a div here. And here I will put a simple class as some BG primary or BG info. And I will give text white. This is all CSS. And I will give text center. And I will give here a heading, say products catalog. Fine. Now I will save this. This component, I need to make it available in the startup. That means I want my application to start with this component. Then what you have to do is at the top, you have to designate at the net page. And it indicates that this component need to be included into the host page. On which path request it should be included into the host page. On direct initial loading of the page, it should be included. And I need to configure like this. Now you have problem. Why you have problem? Because already index is there, which is index component is there, which is using the same route. That means on the same route, there cannot be two components. So if you mention like this, you are saying that on startup, it has to start with this component, but already index is starting with the same component, same approach. That means you see index component. Index component is also defined with the same. Now this is also defined with the same. Now this will lead to an issue because when I try to reload this page, then obviously you will get a problem. The problem saying that there cannot be two components in the startup. Every application can start with only one component at a time. That means in the path route issues are there. We will reload this. And when we reload this, you can see there is an error. Error is very simple and clear to understand. That is saying that, so ambiguous issues are there. So what are those? So products catalog also trying to start and index also trying to start, which is not possible. Then what to do? You can do very simple. You make this index as a slash index, then no problem. That means on the request of index only, this index will come. And now this Razor products catalog will start. Okay. Then I will refresh this now. And whatever the changes you made, according to that, the startup component will be. You can see that the application starts with our products catalog. That's great. It's working fine. That means your application starts. Your application is ready now. So you added a component and you made the component in the startup. Remember, if you have several components, all those components you need to keep in the routes so that user clicks on them, it will get that component. And very important is this component gets loaded automatically. When I click on home, this component will come because actually in the route it is defined. Where is this route? You may be wondering. Actually, that route is present in shared. In shared, we have a main layout.razor. This is the main layout. In that we have a sidebar which is having nav menu. Nav menu is again our own component. You see there is a nav menu component, nav menu.razor. Go to that. This is the navigation bar. In the navigation bar, you have buttons and navigation links. So many are there. Remember, these are all designed by our own components. This is complex to understand at this level for you. So just what I will do is in the home link, wherever the home link is present, here you have home link. I will simply keep this as a catalog home, right? Catalog home. I will change this to catalog home in the navigation bar. Then usually this has to change into the catalog home. It has to change into that catalog home and display that. That means where to make the changes. That you can see now, this is the navigation bar catalog home. We have counter, we have fetch data. This is the catalog home. Now in the catalog home, you want to get the data and display the data coming from any data source. Of course, you can do everything now. Now important is I just designed a component for you to make you understand how we can get the real world data and interact with that. That requires a lot of things to write. Let's do that also so that you can easily understand about how it can fetch, how it can handle the interactions. We will see one simple approach. Okay, do one thing. So in the navigation, this is catalog home, fine. Now I want some data to display here. Let's prepare some data for our application. And usually, you know, if you want to maintain data for your application, you can maintain a separate data access layer. You can communicate with ADO.NET entity framework, ADO.NET, anything. Here, I will put some hard-coded data and description. Let's see. What I am doing is in the project, I am adding a new folder. And the folder name I will give as models. And you know that models is a folder where we can keep the data. In the models folder, I am adding some data. Let's go and add a new class. Some data. For example, I am adding here as some category. Category is the data. Okay, that is the category. And this is having some details like public int category ID. That is a property. That's a property. So public some string category name. So that is a property. Okay. And here I'm defining some product. I'm adding one more class into models. Models contains the data specific logic, right? And here I have product, right? Later we can handle relationship between the data. So currently we don't use any category. First we will use just product here. So public int product ID. So get set. So okay, some properties. Okay, and a public string name. So get set. Okay, and public decimal price get set. Okay, and here I'm defining so public some string and a photo get set like this. We are defining simply like this. Okay, fine. Now important here is later if we want we can manage relationship. I will keep it simple now. So I will go to www root. This is the location where we keep all the repository required for our project. In www root, I am adding a new folder called images. Into that images folder, I am adding some files. Add existing item. I am adding some files into images. Okay. So in my computer, I have some images related to products. I will pull them here and use them here. So, okay. I have some images and I will use those images here. Suppose I have earpods, I have some Nike, so I have some JBL speaker, jeans, okay. So we have some data here, shirt, shoe one. Some data is present and I will add those images here. So some images are kept into this. Okay, some files are added into this. Okay, now I need to maintain data for this. So that we can use the data. So then in order to maintain the data, and to use the data, actually, what we have to do is to handle that. I will actually we can get it from database. Then here I am adding into the models a class where we will maintain the data. I will give the class name as products list. This is products list. And here I want to maintain the list of all the products. Of course, later you can pull it from the database. Very important is generally any data that you are using for component, because that is a detailed concept you will understand while learning Blazor. Any data that is you are using for component, it should be of type component base. That means actually you have to import using Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.components. From the components, this products list should implement component base. That means whatever the data is needed for your component is provided by this component base. The data that is required for your component will be provided by this component base. Later you can get it from any service also. So here I am creating an IEnumerable of product type. I will give the name as products get set. It is a property. That means from the products list component base, we can access a property called products, which will return the list of all the products. And how do we return the list of all the products? Actually, if you are aware of .NET Core, in .NET Core, we use all asynchronous techniques, asynchronous techniques. If you are not aware of any asynchronous techniques, leave it. Why? Because later you will learn .NET Core and you will understand asynchronous means simultaneously. So all the tasks are executed. All the tasks are executed. That means there is no locking process. There is no blocking process actually. So now the point here is we will create a method public void, and I will give the name as some load products. Load products is a method. And what this load products method will have collection of some products. Well, I will keep some products information inside this. That means it has to collect the products and add the products into the collection, So what we are doing is we are creating product. So product, suppose I give as earpods is equal to new product. New product directly we will add some data into it. So new product, we will add some data into it. Every product contains product ID. Product ID is equal to 1 and it contains name. So name is equal to earpods. Okay. And it will contain some price. Price is equal to some price. And important, it is a decimal. Then I need to use M for decimal, right? And photo is using a path. And photo path is in images /earpods.jpg. It is in www root. So this is the first product. Similarly, I will add some products information. I am adding some data into this. So second one is suppose a shirt. Okay. And here I will say as suppose Levi's shirt. So, and something like Lee shirt. Okay, fine. And this is product ID 2. And here we are defining some price. Okay. And here we say shirt.jpg. I have some relative images. I will keep another one. This is 3. And I will give has suppose Nike. Okay. And I define some like Nike casuals. Okay. And here I defined some price. Okay. And here Nike.jpg. Okay. Like this, we can add some products. You can add any number of products. Now I will add all these products. I will add all these products into the collection. That means what is the collection? Products. Products is an I enumerable. Into that we need to add a new list of what type, product type list, and what are the products need to be added into it. The products needed to add it into it. One is we will add Nike, we will add a shirt, right? These are the products we created. We will add earpods. Whatever the products we created, we are adding it. And very important is these products must be loaded. Whenever the component is initialized. Whenever any component is implementing our products list, it must be loaded. That means what we have to do is we have to actually component base. You can see this is component base. Go to definition of component base. The component base is actually having a virtual method called initialized async. That means you can override this initialized async. That means on initialization of that particular component base, what should happen? On initialization of component base, the data must be loaded into a collection called products. We have to override this one. Then what we have to do is, so in the products list here, we need to override that method. Then we say protected, override, and task. So which one we have to override? On initialization async. That means we have to use on initialized async. We have to override. And what it has to do? Is, so it will return this base. At the same time, it has to load products. That means on the initialization of the component base, that means whenever you implement this products list in any component, automatically it will load the products. On initialization, it loads the product. Actually on initialized, is actually a component lifecycle event. Generally, like your page lifecycle, you will have a component lifecycle also. You are overriding that component lifecycle. On initialization, we are loading the products. That's very simple. We are maintaining some products list and we are loading the products on initialization of this component base. Okay, data is ready. Now what we have to do is we need to implement this now. So let's go to products catalog here. Here I want to present the data. If you want to present the data, you have to implement the library. How to implement the library? At the net, we have to define implement inherits, right? It inherits. What it has to inherit? The products list. Products list it should inherit. And it is present in our models folder. And every component can inherit only one. That's the reason you need so many other points also to understand how to access another component inside it. Okay, but initially it inherits. That means, so if it is inheriting this products list, now you can access this property. You can access that property. What is the property? Products. What that property returns? It returns the list of all the products. So that means go to the razor and here the component I need to present. It's very simple to present. How we will present? I will use a div. I will use a class as card deck. So in the card deck, you know, generally card deck is a general CSS bootstrap one, right? Here we are using an iteration. That means for each where product. So where product. So in what is the collection? Collection is products. Products is the collection. That means every product is now accessible from this collection. For every product, we need to generate a card. A div, I have to generate a card for every product. And usually card contains a div. It will contain a class card header. In the card header, I want to print the product name. I can simply access. Razor code is presided with at the net. So what is it? Product dot. So we want to print name. I want to print the product name. And div, I will put class. This is card body. In the card body, I want to display a picture. Picture source comes from at the net product dot photo field. From the photo field, we have to bind it. That means now Razor is marking up on this particular element. That means you are directly binding with HTML. Razor is binded over HTML. So width I will give as 100 and height I will give as 100. And below this, I will put a div and I will put a class here. And I will put a class here as card footer. And here I want to display the price. I will keep the price at the net. So product dot price. I want to print the price. So this is how we need to approach. So initially, temporarily, I'm using ampersand hash 8377 semicolon 8377 semicolon like this, right? You can use various other filters also. Later you will learn about that. That means how do we convert into a currency format, cultures and all. As of now, we designed, that means it is a loop. You are creating an iteration. You are reading every product from the products collection. Product collection is coming from this products list. And we are presenting the data here in a card form. And you can see when I reload this now, whatever the changes we are making in that means it is going to present in a card form. So that means the catalog, it is accessing that and it is displaying here. So whatever the changes you made, just you can refresh, then those changes are available here. And of course, I'm presenting this. So with a text hierarchical order, right? I'm presenting to the text white. I can change that, right? Refresh means F5 only, na? what is that question? Who is that person? Right, fine. So here we are using text white. I will change this. So we don't want the text white for entire, because you are keeping this entire card deck inside the products catalog, right? What I will do is I will keep this div. I will keep this div. So I will keep the div outside this. We will add another div where we will keep that entire content. So that will be better here. That will be better here. For the above, it can be text white, and below, so it will be normal, right? And you can see all the products information is displayed here. That means I click on fetch data, it contains some other data counter, and it contains this information. We are bringing from any specific data and we are displaying the data here. Now let me show you another simple example how actually, so client side events are handled so that it is easy for you to understand both approaches. So let's do one thing. Go to fetch data. So fetch data. So here in the design, I will go to the layout here, navigation. I will change this fetch data to search product. Search product. Okay, search product. And I changed that to the search product. And you can see search product. Now what I will do is, in that I want to design something for searching the product. So this is search product. This is catalog home, and this is search product, What I will do now here is let's go to the component. Actually, I changed that to the fetch data. I will go to here in the pages. There is fetch data.razor component. In this component, I will remove all the logic already it is having. I will remove all the logic already it is having. Now what I will do here is simply I will implement. I want to implement a search functionality. First, I will get the data. Data is present in inherits. So we have to inherit products list, and products list is in our model so that I can get the data. Data is in products, right? I want to create a simple heading, search products. Okay. Here I will keep a div. So I will keep a div with a simple class as form group. And here I will define a div, and I will keep a class. As form inline. These are all CSS, right? So form inline. I am defining form inline. Here I am using a text box. Input type is equal to text. This is all your plain HTML, and the class. Let's keep the class as form control. And beside this, I will keep a button, and I will keep a button here. And let's keep the button text as search. And here I will keep a placeholder as product ID. And search button, we will add some classes. Class is equal to btn, and btn some primary. You have a search button here. That means we designed a simple search option here. And we are adding the buttons here. So button primary and search here. So we are using form and we are displaying that here. Now a simple button and search box is present here. Now important is I enter the product ID and click the search button. I have to get the detail of that particular product and show. And you know that for that we need to use a lot of client-side jQuery JavaScript. So as logic. Now see how Blazor can handle the events and functionalities and how we can bind and interact with the data. Let's see, it's a simple point to understand and use it. Actually, what we need to do is we have to write code code is written by using @net code. We can write the logic here. And in the logic, what is the point here? In the logic, what is the point here is, in the logic, we are writing a property, public. So you can use any access specifier. And here I am defining integer ID. Now I need to collect this ID coming from a text box. So that means now I need to bind this with the text box. Actually, JavaScript, jQuery have a different approach. Here, very simple. It will provide a simple tag helpers, bind value. Bind value is equal to ID. So @net ID, that's it. That's very simple. That means whatever the value you entered in the text box, now it is binded with this variable, this property. That means now ID is available here. Earlier, we need to use a lot of our JavaScript, jQuery and everything. That means whatever value you type here, it will be there. That's very simple. Now I need to create a method. Then public void. A method is nothing but search products. Search products is a method. Okay, good. When this search products method should execute? Search products method should execute automatically when user clicks this button. That means I need to write an event for this button. How do we write the events? Simply @net on click is equal to, I need to point towards the function search products. That's simple. And search products is a function of, we have to point through a razor syntax. That means @net search products. That's simple. That means what you learn in Blazor is about how to use these tag helpers. These are called tag helpers. Now you can directly mark up on HTML. Means on click, it has to call the method search products. What search products method has to do? It should search for the product based on the ID, where it has to search in the collection. That means, and find out. That means that what I will do is, I will create another object of product type. I will create a product type object. Prod is a product type object. Why? Because after searching, the result will be a product type that we will store in product. That means what this prod contains? Prod is equal to, it contains the product that is matching with that ID. How you can search for any product based on ID? You know link queries, na? What is our collection? Products dot single. We can use a single method. X implies X dot product ID is matching with whatever the ID coming from text box. That means whatever the ID is coming from text box, that ID is collected. And after collecting the ID, we are searching for that ID related product inside the collection. Products is the collection, and we are storing the result in prod. That means prod contains product ID, product name and price and photo that belongs to the search result. Now search result is present in prod. Prod is a product type. Then I want to display that here. I will create another div. And here I will use class as form group. So class as form group. And here I want to display the result. I want to display the search result. I will use a data list with a data term. Here I will say name. I want to print the name as data definition. How you can get the name? It is present in prod object, prod.name. It can get the name. I am using price, data term, price. I need to search for price. And here I am defining prod.price. I am defining the price. I want to display the photo preview and data definition. Here I want image, IMG and SRC. SRC is coming from @net prod.photo, and width is 100 and height is 100. That's it. These all things we need to do earlier by using JavaScript or jQuery client side. Now you can see it is all done by using a simple Blazor technique. We have to use these tag helpers to bind the data. We need to use simple event binding techniques. These are all client side event binding techniques. So I will save this now and I will refresh here. I will reload this now. And you can see that our search is also implemented correctly. Our search is also implemented correctly. That means what we are doing is in the search box. So here you see it is showing that null reference. Null reference means it is saying that I am unable to find this name and price directly first. Of course, it is unable to find it directly. So we need to write a logic. That means until I click search button, it should not able to try this. Then we will write a simple logic here. Logic is nothing but if prod is equal to, that means at the net, right? I will give at the net if prod is equal to null, that means no product is available, then it has to print a heading saying that loading, please wait, this message will come. Else what should happen? If it is provided, then the search result should display. So because directly it is trying to display the data, directly it will not have the data until I click the search button. So I will refresh this now. That means now you can see that it will simply say that it is loading. Please wait. Because no data has been provided for searching yet, then it has to display loading, please wait. So loading, please wait. Okay. I will type here the product record number 2 and click on search. It should get the data and display. It is getting the data and displaying. I'm searching for 1 and search, then it is getting the data and displaying. That's great. That's working fine. Observe carefully. I will copy this URL. I will take you to this Edge and paste in the Edge browser. So I am accessing the page in Edge browser. Press F12 function key, debugger will come. And in the debugger, I will go to the network category, right side. And in the network category, I will click here. So I will stop network capturing actually. We can stop the network capturing and we can start the network capturing. You can try this more better in, Okay, now when I requested this, you can see that the fetch data, you can observe here, the fetch data is currently on which request? The fetch data is currently on get request. You can see the request method is get. Observe it carefully. When I am searching for any record, that means here I am searching for a record. I am entering some product number 1 and click on search. On the same get request, it is fetching the data. That means here it is not post, but it is accessing the data from a model, from server, and it is displaying. It is accessing from server and it is displaying. That means, so no post happening and directly it is accessing. This is what generally our AJAX was doing earlier. Now implementing everything internally implemented by this, right? This is all actually how the Blazor works. And important, no JavaScript, no jQuery, everything Razor. Even that means on button click, observe here on HTML button click, it is calling the C# code client side. This is general C# code. So it is calling the C# code client side. It is evaluating the values and returning the result on simple button click of HTML. So this is very important. And this is what our future .NET is about, the building of UI. Blazor is so good that you can use this Blazor for your ASP.NET Web UI, MVC Web UI also. Not only here, you can use for your ASP.NET Web UI, MVC Web UIs. Also, you can integrate the Blazor and use it client side. That is important about this Blazor. I hope you understood the approach and a simple point about Blazor. So we don't have complete time to discuss about every point in Blazor because this is just an overview workshop for you to understand about it. I hope you cleared with these topics, right? I will upload all this. Obviously, this video is all available on YouTube. You will get this on YouTube. You can verify anytime and you can follow it and you can see it. Anyhow, the notes and the presentation, I will upload onto the GitHub repository. So I will give you a GitHub link. So I will upload into the GitHub repository. This all notes and example I will upload there. I will give you my GitHub link so that you can get it everything from there. So with this, we finish the basic workshop on this Blazor. I just given you an overview for that. I will create a new repository here for, I will give you the repository name. Yeah. Yeah, in this repository, so you will get all the files. That means this is the repository. This is the repository. And I will ping you in the message box to all of you. Yeah, this is the link where I will upload all this, right? I will upload all this to you. And thank you very much for all your patience of understanding this concept till now, right? I hope you are clear. You have a little bit idea. Once you start working with this, I can, means we will start a Blazor batch. So you will be informed about that, right? Thank you, right? You will be informed with that. Then you can more detailedly understand everything here, right? I hope everyone is clear. Do you have any doubts? Right? If you have any doubts, you can raise your hand so that you can talk. Yeah, see, the course is not yet decided when to start, right? When it starts, obviously the Blazor related course will be approximately for 3 weeks to understand everything on Blazor, but it requires prerequisite is you need to know about .NET Core. That's the reason if you don't know .NET Core and directly come to Blazor, then it will take 1 month time minimum to understand it, right? If the course starts, it will take 1 month time to understand and work with Blazor because it needs knowledge of a core, right? Yeah, ASP.NET Core batch will start shortly. MVC and ASP.NET Core batch will start shortly. Mostly within a week, a new batch will start and you will be informed about that, right? Because as you registered for the webinar, right, you will be keep informed with the latest updates happening related to our class. This entire class related notes I am uploading along with the presentation also, the PowerPoint presentation into this GitHub repository. You can get it from there, right? Both the presentation and the notes, whatever I have given to you. I am uploading into that location. You can get it from there. Blazor workshop notes and the PPT. These two files I am uploading, you can get from there. And that example also step by step given in that notes. So where to write, what to write, everything is there. You can even try this. You can even try this. You can even try this. See, the limitations, like you can simply say that you don't need any another technology. As a .NET developer, you don't need JavaScript, jQuery to deal with, you can directly integrate with your .NET applications, right? Obviously, this will not be preferred by Java or PHP person. This is purely for .NET people because you don't need to invest time in any other new technologies now. Am I right? As a .NET developer, so you don't need to invest anything on any another technology client side now, right? Just now I uploaded. You can go through that. It is not empty repository. Just now I uploaded. Right? Okay, great. So Blazor WebAssembly also similar, but the syntactical approach for working with the assembly is little bit different. So whenever time permits, I will tell you a small workshop on WebAssembly also, because WebAssembly now very recently made available. So it will be in a separate session if possible, right? For .NET people especially, it will be future of Blazor only, right? Over Angular or other frameworks, right? Obviously, it will the future for .NET people. See, Angular and others are for other technology. Yes, complete course will be there. It will be obviously a paid course, right? We cannot spend 1 month freely for you, right? It will be a paid course, and what when the batch starts, you will be informed, right? Mostly within a week, new batch will start for ASP.NET Core. Blazor, it will take a little while because once we get all the people registered with us, then we will plan for a new course on Blazor, right? You should not compare like which one is faster. So Blazor is faster or Angular is faster. Why? Because so you should ask the question like, is Angular with .NET faster or Blazor with .NET faster? What do you think? Till now you have learned. What do you think, right? Which with .NET Blazor is better than Angular? Am I right? Right. Obviously, it will be faster, right? Okay, I hope everyone is clear with these concepts. Thank you very much for your time on Sunday, and let's meet again for with a new technology, new workshop. Coming weeks we will conduct, and the complete session of Blazor also we will start. Then you can attend those sessions. You will be keep informed from our admin team because you are registered with us. And if you have any doubts, you can send messages to my Git repository where I can go through your doubts and any other problems. So you will be informed about the next seminar when it will happen. Hope everyone is clear with this. Thank you very much. So I'm leaving now, right? Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. If you have any doubts, you can ping me on my GitHub. Thank you very much. Bye.